The clinking of crystal glasses echoed through the luxury restaurant as golden chandeliers bathed the room in warm light. My family had gathered around the long mahogany table near the window, laughing, ordering the most expensive dishes, as if they owned the place. I stood just outside the velvet rope by the entrance, clutching my small purse, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. "Excuse me, ma'am," the host said politely. "This section is private tonight. Reserved." "I know," I whispered, glancing past him. My eyes landed on my mother, elegant in her diamond earrings, raising a glass of champagne. She caught me staring, then smirked. Rising slightly from her chair, she tilted her head and spoke loud enough for the whole table to hear. "Danielle, you shouldn't be here. This isn't the kind of place you can afford. Do you even realize how much a single plate costs here? You'd embarrass us just by sitting down." The table erupted in soft chuckles. My sister Madison leaned forward with that same smug look she had worn since childhood. "She probably thought we forgot to invite her," she sneered. "Mom's right. Places like this aren't for her kind." My hands trembled, but I forced myself not to flinch. The humiliation burned, every word striking deeper than the last. I wasn't dressed poorly. I wore a sleek black dress, simple but tasteful. But in their eyes, I was still the girl who had failed to live up to their standards, the one they could mock for sport. A waiter passed. Silver tray balanced perfectly, and I caught my reflection in the polished metal. My jaw tightened. I would not break down in front of them. Not tonight. Then, from behind me, I felt a familiar presence. A firm but gentle hand touched my arm. I turned and saw Ethan, my husband, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, his expression calm, almost unreadable. But in his eyes I saw fire. "What's going on here?" he asked softly, though his voice carried a weight that made even the host glance nervously between us. My mother laughed, dismissive, as though Ethan was just another nobody. "She tried to sneak in here thinking she belongs. Tell your husband," she spat the word like it left a bad taste, "that this place isn't for people like you two. This restaurant is for people of status." The words hung in the air like a knife. I could feel my face heat with anger and shame, but Ethan didn't even blink. His lips curled into the faintest smile, the kind of smile that promised a storm was about to break. "Status, you say?" he murmured. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small black card, and handed it to the host. "Run this, will you? Then escort my wife and me to the owner's table." The host froze. His eyes widened as they scanned the card. He swallowed hard, almost bowing, then nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. Right away, Mr. Callahan." The sound of his words sliced through the table's laughter like glass shattering. My mother's smirk faltered. Madison's fork clattered against her plate. Every single one of them stared at Ethan as if seeing him for the first time. And me? For the first time that night, I allowed myself to smile. The air inside the restaurant shifted the moment the host addressed Ethan as Mr. Callahan. Every laugh, every cruel smirk from my family died in their throats. The chandeliers above seemed to blaze brighter, reflecting in their wide, disbelieving eyes. My mother, Margaret, straightened in her chair as though trying to reclaim control. "This must be some kind of mistake," she said sharply, her voice trembling beneath the surface. "You can't possibly bow," but the host was already bowing, gesturing us forward. "Mr. and Mrs. Callahan, please allow me to escort you to the owner's table." The words struck the table like thunder. Madison's jaw dropped, her wine glass slipping from her hand and shattering against the marble floor. Heads turned from nearby tables. The humiliation that had moments ago been mine now burned red across my mother's and sister's faces. Ethan slid his arm around my waist, his tone steady but edged with iron. "Come on, Danielle," he said, guiding me past the velvet rope. "You belong here more than anyone." Every step we took across that plush carpet felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. My heels clicked with purpose, no longer hesitant, no longer small. The waitstaff moved with urgency, pulling out chairs at the grandest table in the room. A corner booth lined with velvet, framed beneath golden sconces. As Ethan held my chair, I glanced back. My family hadn't moved. They sat frozen, their laughter gone, their superiority crumbling before their eyes. Still, Margaret found her voice, though brittle. "Danielle!" she hissed. "What game are you playing? Are you telling us this man, your husband, owns this place?" I met her gaze, my voice sharp but controlled. "Yes, Mother. This entire restaurant belongs to Ethan." I let the words hang for a beat. The food you're eating, the wine you're drinking, the chairs you're sitting on, it's all his. A murmur spread across the other guests. Some whispered, some stared. My mother paled, her diamond earrings suddenly less dazzling beneath the weight of truth. Madison forced a laugh, high-pitched and desperate. "Stop joking. You married beneath you, Danielle. We all know it. He's just pretending." Ethan leaned forward, his calmness sharper than any blade. "Would you like proof?" He motioned to the manager, who arrived instantly, bowing low. "Mr. Callahan, everything is ready as you requested." The manager handed Ethan a sleek leather folder. Inside was the official deed. Ethan flipped it open deliberately, letting my family see the signed ownership document stamped with the restaurant's crest. The color drained from Madison's face. Margaret's hands clenched around her champagne glass so tightly I thought it might break. For a moment, the silence was unbearable. Then my father, Richard Bennett, who had said nothing until now, cleared his throat. His voice was low, almost pleading. "Danielle, why didn't you tell us?" I turned toward him, the man who had raised me but never once defended me. My heart pounded with years of swallowed words, years of being treated as less. I finally let them out. "Would it have mattered, Dad? Would you have believed in me for once? Or would you have still laughed, still told me I wasn't enough, still called me the failure of the family?" Richard looked away, his silence answer enough. Ethan reached for my hand across the table, his grip steady, grounding me. His voice was calm but carried power that silenced the entire room. "My wife deserves respect. She has it from me and from this city. If her own family can't see that, then maybe it's time you realize the mistake is yours, not hers." The weight of his words fell heavy. My mother's lips trembled. Madison avoided my eyes. For the first time in my life, they were the ones sitting in shame, and I was the one with dignity unshaken, and I wasn't done yet. The silence that followed Ethan's words was louder than any insult my family had ever thrown at me. I sat there, fingers wrapped around his, watching the faces of the very people who had spent their lives reminding me I wasn't enough. Now they were pale, trembling, and exposed, but I wasn't about to let the moment slip by. I leaned forward, my voice steady but sharp as glass. "You told me I wasn't good enough to sit at this table, that I'd embarrass you just by walking through the door. But look at you now, drinking my husband's wine, eating from his kitchen, laughing at my expense while sitting in his restaurant." Madison broke first, her lips pulling into a desperate smile. "Danielle, come on. It was just a joke. You know how Mom gets sometimes, how we all tease. Don't take it so seriously." "Seriously?" My laugh cut through the air, hollow and biting. "You humiliated me in front of strangers. You've been doing it my whole life, mocking me, excluding me, reminding me I'm the black sheep. And now that the truth has flipped, you want to call it a joke?" My mother's eyes narrowed, her pride clawing for survival. "You think a restaurant makes you our equal? Money doesn't change where you came from, Danielle. Don't forget, you're still the girl who never measured up. You may be sitting at that table, but in this family, you'll always be beneath us." Her venom hit like a lash, but I didn't flinch. Not this time. Ethan's thumb brushed against mine beneath the table, a silent reminder that I wasn't standing alone. I drew in a breath and let the years of suppressed hurt flow out. "No, Mother, I'm not beneath you. I've risen in spite of you. And tonight proves something you've never wanted to admit. I don't need your approval. I never did." My father shifted uncomfortably, his hand tightening around his glass. Danielle, stop this. This isn't the place. Not the place. My voice cracked like thunder. You've never given me a place, Dad. Not at the table, not in the family, not in your heart. Madison was your golden child. I was the one you brushed aside. Tonight you tried to erase me again, but you can't anymore. Gasps rippled through nearby diners. Some whispered behind their menus, others openly watched, unable to look away from the storm unfolding. Richard opened his mouth to protest, but Ethan's voice cut in, calm yet commanding. This is exactly the place, Mr. Bennett. Because for years you've treated Danielle as though she's invisible, as though her worth depended on your approval. That ends now, the manager returned, bowing low to Ethan. Sir, the bill for the Bennett party has been settled as you requested. The entire table stiffened. My mother shot to her feet. Settled? We haven't even finished. Ethan's smile was razor sharp. No, but you've had enough. My staff will clear your table. Consider tonight on the house, a farewell gift. Margaret's face twisted with rage. How dare you embarrass us like this? Ethan leaned back, unbothered, his arm resting casually along the booth. You embarrassed yourselves when you turned away your own daughter at the door. I simply made sure everyone sees it for what it is. Madison pushed back her chair, her composure shattering. This is ridiculous. We came here to celebrate what? I snapped, standing now, my voice shaking with both fury and freedom. Another deal you'll brag about while belittling me? Another dinner where I sit at home, wondering why I wasn't invited? Well, guess what? Your celebration is over. Tonight isn't about you anymore. Tonight, it's about me. The room fell into a hush so thick I could hear the pounding of my own heart. My family sat frozen, stripped of the power they once held over me. For years, I had begged for scraps of affection. Tonight, I had something greater, dignity, and I wasn't finished. I turned to the waitstaff, my voice clear, deliberate. Please escort the Bennett party out. Their reservation is canceled. The shock on my mother's face was almost poetic. She sputtered, searching for words, but none came. Madison gaped like a child caught lying. My father's shoulders sagged, the weight of shame finally pressing down. Two waiters stepped forward, polite but firm, gesturing toward the door. The once powerful Bennetts stood awkwardly, their superiority crumbling as whispers and stares followed them through the dining room. As they passed me, Margaret hissed under her breath. You'll regret this, Danielle. I met her glare without blinking. No, Mother. The only regret here is yours. They left in silence, their footsteps echoing against marble like the final toll of a bell. The moment the doors closed behind them, the restaurant seemed to exhale. A wave of applause broke out from surrounding tables, polite at first, then stronger, until the entire room was clapping. Heat flushed my face, but this time it wasn't humiliation. It was pride. For once in my life, people weren't laughing at me, they were applauding me. Ethan rose beside me, his hand brushing down my back as he whispered, just for me to hear. You were brilliant. I turned to him, my voice softer now, stripped of venom, only truth. You gave me the strength to finally speak. I've spent my whole life waiting for them to see me. But tonight, I realized, I don't need them to. I see myself. His eyes softened, pride and love woven together. And that, Danielle, is something they can never take from you again. We sat together at the owner's table, the meal before us untouched, the night heavy with both endings and beginnings. For the first time, I didn't feel like the unwanted daughter. I felt like the woman I was always meant to be. And as the chandeliers glowed above us, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. My family's power over me had ended tonight. In the very place they tried to deny me entry. They thought I'd never belong. But the truth was, I owned the room. The applause inside the restaurant faded, but its echo lingered in my chest long after my family had been escorted out. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one left standing in shame. I was the one in control. Yet I knew my mother, Margaret, wouldn't let it end there. She was too proud, too obsessed with appearances to accept defeat. And I was right. The very next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone vibrating against the nightstand. Ethan stirred beside me, his arm warm across my waist, but I slipped free and answered. Danielle. My mother's voice was cold, clipped. We need to talk. Now. Your father and I will be at the estate at noon. Be there, I almost laughed, commanding me again, as if nothing had changed. But something inside me shifted last night, and I wasn't the same woman anymore. At noon, Ethan drove me up the long driveway to the Bennett estate. The mansion loomed ahead, pristine and perfect, its columns and marble steps designed to impress. But to me, it looked hollow, empty. A facade just like the people inside. We entered the drawing room where my family waited. My mother stood rigid near the fireplace, her diamond earrings glinting under the chandelier. Madison sat perched on the sofa, arms crossed, her smirk brittle, forced. My father, Richard, sat in his armchair with a glass of bourbon, already weary. The moment I walked in, my mother pounced. You humiliated us last night. Do you understand what you've done? People were whispering. Our name, our reputation, our name? I cut her off, my voice sharp. You were worried about your name while you dragged mine through the dirt. You told me I wasn't good enough to walk into that restaurant. You laughed at me in front of strangers. Don't talk to me about reputation, Mother. You destroyed mine years ago. Her face flushed with rage. I was protecting this family. By tearing me apart? I shot back. By teaching my own sister that cruelty is acceptable as long as it makes her feel superior? Madison bristled. Don't bring me into this. You've always been jealous because Mom and Dad saw me as the successful one. You married up, Danielle, but you'll never be one of us. I turned to her slowly, my tone icy. You're right. I'm not one of you, and thank God for that. Ethan placed a steadying hand on my back, but I could feel his restrained fury at every word they hurled. His silence was more powerful than any outburst could have been. My father finally spoke, his voice tired, almost defeated. Danielle, you've made your point. But humiliating your family in public, do you think that makes you better? You've always been emotional, reckless. Last night proved it. I stared at him, heart pounding. After everything, even now, he found a way to twist the knife. Reckless? My voice cracked with years of pain. You call it reckless when I finally stood up for myself? You call it reckless when I refused to be your family's punching bag? No, Dad. Last night wasn't reckless, it was freedom. The silence was thick, suffocating. My mother's eyes blazed. My sister's jaw was tight. My father stared at his bourbon, unable to meet my gaze. Ethan finally stepped forward, his voice calm but cutting like steel. I've listened quietly long enough. Danielle doesn't need your approval. She doesn't need your acceptance. She has built her own life, and she stands taller than any of you. And whether you realize it or not, last night the world saw what this family really is. Cruel, shallow, desperate for control. That shame is yours to carry, not hers. Margaret's lips trembled with fury, but she couldn't find words to strike back. I stepped closer, my voice low, deliberate. For years, I begged to belong to this family. I bent myself into pieces trying to earn your love, but I finally see the truth. You only love what makes you look powerful. I don't fit into that image. And I never will, my sister sneered. So what now, Danielle? You think you can cut us off and suddenly you're above us? I smiled faintly, the kind of smile that comes when you finally stop bleeding. No, Madison. I don't think I'm above you. I just know I'm finally free of you. Ethan extended his hand to me, and I took it without hesitation. Together, we turned toward the door. My heels clicked across the marble floor, echoing louder than my family's silence. But just before I stepped outside, I paused and looked back one last time. You said I couldn't afford to walk into that restaurant. Turns out you couldn't afford to walk out with your dignity intact. Remember that the next time you try to measure my worth, their faces burned into my memory. My mother's pride crumbling. My sister's mask cracking. My father's silence crushing him. As the door closed behind me, the weight I'd carried for years finally lifted. Outside, the sun was brighter, the air sharper, freer. Ethan squeezed my hand, his voice low and certain. You don't owe them anything anymore. You never did. I looked up at him, my heart steady for the first time in years. You're right. I don't. We walked down the steps together, away from the house that had never been a home. For the first time, I wasn't leaving in shame. I was leaving in power. And as we drove away, the mansion shrinking in the distance, I knew I had closed the final chapter on a life built on their cruelty. I wasn't Danielle, the forgotten daughter, anymore. I was Danielle Callahan, the woman who walked through fire, claimed her place, and left her family speechless, and I wasn't going back.